What is going on, everybody? It's JT here with JT Invests in You, and today we have C. Will with Passive Income Network and David over with Crypto4Change here to talk about all things Algorand. So without further ado, let's bring them on in. Let's see what's going on, guys.
What is going on?
Yo,
All
what's
right.
good? What is good?
How's everyone doing?
I can't complain. Hopefully, we start seeing some green soon. Then it'd be better, like your background there.
Yeah.
Wasn't it red last time?
Oh, I should have changed mine green. Yeah.
I'm trying to.
We in the red.
I'm trying to summon the good spirits back here with the green background. That's for sure. Let's see. We don't have too many people in the chat just yet, but anyone that is listening, if you just leave your chats in the chat box, of course, we will bring them up on screen and get to them as usual. But we have a great show planned. There's so much going on in the Algorand space. Of course, Algorand itself just got verified on Twitter, which, a long time coming for that one. That's for sure.
It's about damn time.
Yeah, that's
man.
huge. That's very huge.
Unbelievable. So then we also can talk about, that's a perfect segue into ASA verification. There's a lot of misunderstanding on what these verified assets really mean. There's two tiers of verification, but we can talk about those. There's been a lot of rug pulls on the Algorand network itself. And then we can talk about Algorand and Ethereum interoperability. There's a lot going on there between C3 protocol and Milko Media. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I have really no idea. We could talk about Algorand governance, of course, ex-governors, expert governors, Yieldly updates, and so on. So let's just get started. Of course, let's just jump right into ASA verification and rug pulls. What have you guys been seeing out there?
Go ahead, David.
I think from what I've been seeing, and obviously this is coming from someone who, on my channel, I mainly talk, I would not to say just like the big dogs or something like that, but I do normally talk the assets that I've done enough research on that, like, I know the team, I can do a little research, find more out about them and what they're building. And usually they have a product. I think what you're seeing, and I'll even say, I know we were going to get into Opulus and its big slide we saw, but I think what you're seeing is a lot of hype before product. And, all this hype gets a lot of people excited to jump in, to invest and hope to see kind of what Opulus did at the start, going from something really low to really high. And I think that's where you get some of these rug pulls. And then, you just throw in they're verified on Algorand, or it's got a check mark on Tiny Man. So that means this thing's legit and it's going to moon. And it's just not true. I think people need to really take a second look at doing research and finding out, not only just what it's trying to accomplish, but is it really going to solve anything that we need solved? Or is it just a bunch of fluff?
Facts.
Yep.
It was so bad, reading on Twitter about, I guess it was 3 rug pulls, if I'm correct, like kind of back to back. Again, what David said is the people are hyped and they don't understand how to do a proper research, and I talk about this all the time on my channel. It doesn't give the most views ever when I'm just talking real education, but those are the videos that people need to watch. It's like a checklist, like we would talk about who is the founder, are they reachable? Can we talk to the team? I got a good example like right now, like the Robinhood app. If y'all use the Robinhood app and go to the IPO access and you see all the red charts, that is the reason why you don't ape into something, right? Because it's usually going to go down until, like what David said, we figure out what the product actually is and can they, accomplish what they set out to accomplish. And that's what people don't understand. They see 10x in their mind and that's it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's an important thing to bring up. I'm going to bring this up right here. And, Headline Crypto, they wrote, let's get this out of the way. And let's move us up over to the side. Check for official Algorand verification, but do not base a portfolio decision on Algo Explorer verification. Uh, Algo Explorer only verifies that the website is accurate as specified in the ASA metadata. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that just assume that these check marks must mean that this project is relatively legit. But all it really means is that you're getting the actual token that is advertised. Because some of these tokens have 30 copycat tokens that you can find on TinyMint. So sometimes it's really hard to know, which token is actually with which project. So verification does not mean it's a good project. It does not mean that the owners aren't going to pull the liquidity. It does not mean that this project can't fail. It just means that it's the token that you're trying to get.
Right. And I mean, even kind of like what we said at the start, Algorand just got verified on Twitter, Does that mean now Algorand's worth investing in? And before it had that check mark, it wasn't worth investing in. I mean,
Hey, unfortunately, it might actually bring in some. Well, fortunately, but unfortunate because it's just kind of dumb. But fortunately, it might bring in some people actually because I mean, a lot of people do take those check marks a lot more seriously, as we're seeing play out, in this situation. But on a much larger scale, people do take those verified check marks probably more seriously than they should.
Yeah, because when you think of verification with the Algorand Foundation, like you just broke down, it's two separate situations. What I was learning to do too is kind of follow the money. Like, did they also give those people money? And that's what we call accelerator. If are they in the acceleration program? Have they been given money? Another checkpoint to think about. Basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's just one of many things to look at in your decision making. I wouldn't, definitely don't ape into any new coin just because it just got a check mark. In fact, I mean, it seems like Loud DeFi or LoudFi, whatever it is, they kind of did that exact thing. They got verified, their token went up like 100%, and then they yanked most of their liquidity. I mean, they're given like a little sob story now, but whether it was on purpose or not, I mean, it was either malintent or complete incompetence. So I mean, either way, I totally wouldn't trust the situation.
I'll say another thing is, like, I think about Opulus. We talked about this, I think, last week, or was that last week? Weeks be flying. But we talked about this last week. It was like, do the LoudFi owners have any history of running a business or doing anything beyond this one project? And if we can't answer that question, that also puts a little caution for me.
Here's one thing I would say, and this just goes because, let's be honest, I feel like what's the age of people who are investing in these crypto projects? And like, it's probably young people. It's probably people who are Robinhood traders. It's people who are
millennials.
You're not seeing your seasoned veterans aping into these things. It's young people just like they're aping into NFTs. And I'll say this, just because an NFT has the name Algo in it, or just because a DeFi project has Fi at the end of it, or a name where it's catchy, does not make it a legitimate investment that you should put your money into. I think that's just something that, I mean, I feel like that's obvious, but when you look at what's happening and you see how many people get frustrated with these rug pulls, why would you put your money there yet? I mean, they have no product. They're telling you what they're going to do, but they have nothing, and it's yet to be seen, really. And then you even see with TinyMint, a good project, and still bad things can happen. So you just can't just, it's like the monkey who's throwing
yearly too. Like, communication really is huge in this damn industry, and Yearly did the same thing, though they're verified and accelerated.
Yeah, you got people taking advice from Twitter accounts with 23 followers. People are
hey, well, I mean,
show their face. That's kind of a red flag for me,
right? Well, now everybody's got NFTs.
Yeah. No, 100%.
That's true.
100%. Yeah, I mean, everyone is behind a random profile picture, but still, usually if it's a legitimate project, you can go find, LinkedIn profiles or, some sort of article written about the founder or some sort of interview given by them. If you can't find any sort of public information on a project or on a founder of a project, then you really should at least wait to see if that information comes out before you invest any money. But let's just
your 3 favorite YouTubers talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's all hype something up right now. So how about we move on to Algorand and Ethereum interoperability, because I think this is going to be an absolutely huge thing for Algorand. It's going to be an absolute game changer, not only for Algorand really, but probably the entire ecosystem, because Ethereum has all of the liquidity or most of the liquidity. And Algorand, in our opinion, or at least my opinion, I want to speak for both of you, but is the better technology. So if we could bridge some of that liquidity, or heck, all of that liquidity, most of that liquidity over to the Algorand ecosystem, that would be absolutely huge. So I want to get your take on that, and then I want to show a couple things.
You can go first, C. Will.
Well, I think that is huge. At first, I was a little skeptical about it, trying to deal with Ethereum so much, but I do understand. I was researching ETH Denver, and I'm kind of considering going if everything works out. But ETH Denver is essentially Algorand is like sponsoring it, and what they're trying to do is essentially tap in with the Ethereum developers who do have all the market share, as JT just said, and then connect them with Algorand. And I know it's a C3 protocol is like a layer 2 version to use Algorand as a layer 2 as a scaling solution. So it does make sense to bring in that market share all back to Algorand, because once they find out what we find out, this tech is better, you could just use Ethereum on Algorand. Then boom, developers are headed our way. That's what I'm thinking.
For me, I mean, obviously interoperability between the blockchains, it is something that we're going to be moving towards with, you don't have to choose one specific chain. You can move your funds however you wish. I mean, it would be interesting to see how projects that are already on Ethereum would bridge over, some of the bigger ones like Compound, Aave, Uniswap, stuff like that, how it would even be, integrated using Algorand's tech. Whereas, you already see with Matic, they're doing, zero knowledge proofs and stuff like that. Like they're already starting to use, I guess you could say, Algorand tech, or, what Silvio, invented. But yeah, for me, it's even, I know we're going to get into this news later. It's more of I like what we're seeing in El Salvador, but I don't want to jump too far ahead, because I know that's going to be a topic we're going to hit on here in a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, I will say that that interoperability itself is probably one of the bigger things to happen. But I want to just get over to what I want to share real quick. And this is a tweet from Arlington Capital. Let's see if I can pull it up. Here we go. Arlington Capital portfolio protocols demonstrating incredible versatility on Algorand. We've got C3 protocol leveraging Algorand as an Ethereum L2 via state proofs, and Milko Meta bringing EVM sidechains rollups to Algorand. And then we have C3 protocol over here progressing fast towards MetaMask sending orders to C3's matching engine, and trade settlement happening in Algorand before updating the state back to Ethereum. And as you can see, here's a picture of that looking right here. For anyone familiar with Ethereum, that's a perfect MetaMask transaction.
Yep.
And I just want to do a quick read from something Arlington Capital wrote about C3, because it's something that it's made me super bullish on the Algorand ecosystem. So I just want to do a quick read on this. And it goes, C3's vision is to build a layer for cross-margined and cross-chain trading in DeFi. Liquidity today is fractured across many venues, protocols, and blockchains. Instead, users should be able to trade from a single global account plugged into other blockchains, managing their positions and collateral from a single hub. And that's amazing, because it makes complete sense. If you could just use one single hub, one single app, kind of like the reason we're all excited about DeFi, or a lot of people are. If you could just use one single hub to access all of these DeFi protocols across all blockchains and have it settle on Algorand, that's absolutely incredible. Fragmented trading is capital inefficient and carries unnecessary risk. A position on protocol X is completely siloed from a position on protocol Y. It cannot be used to collateralize new positions. Profit and loss is localized, siloed protocol by protocol. C3 wants to instead make profit and loss global, covering all positions across blockchains and protocols. And it's a super big endeavor, of course. But it's just something that has me super, super excited for this ecosystem, because, as I just said, I mean, that would be the game changer that Algorand needs, because no other blockchain is doing this. And of course, C3 protocol is using state proofs, which is an Algorand native technology. No other blockchain has this technology currently.
Why don't you go real quick, JT, and just kind of give an explanation of what state proofs are for those in the chat?
I wish I could give a technical description of it, but state proofs are just basically a way for Algorand and another chain to interact and you pretty much give each other information that's crucial to, like and communicate between each other in a trustless way. It's not the exact same thing as a bridge like AlgoMint,
Right.
but effectively it can be used in a similar sort of trustless bridge manner.
Yeah.
My only thing so far, this idea sounds amazing. I just feel like Algorand's too fast for some of these like blockchains like Ethereum. So I wonder how, if an Ethereum transaction take 10 minutes and we're using, I guess, Algorand as a layer two, how would that translate underneath?
Well, I
I
was
might have
going
an
through
answer for me.
I was going through a lot of C3 protocols tweets, and the way they're describing it is all settlement happens on Algorand. So you're basically able to do Ethereum-based transactions without any gas settling in the speed of Algorand.
See, what's the benefit to even having Ethereum? Because I've always seen the benefit for people who are using Ethereum and holding it is all the gas fees that are accumulated when people are doing those transactions go to pay the validator. So that's where I just feel like that whole thing would kind of fall on itself. Like, if
I I personally think it would be more of a reason why, sorry to interrupt, it would be more of a reason why people would move over to Algorand because they would see the benefit of it. I don't think in the long run, because I think you're right. They'd be like, why even, what's
Use
the point of
Ethereum.
Ethereum if
yeah,
this is better? And I think this is one of the many ways to convince the world that it is better.
yeah, it's like
'Cause the only
Bitcoin
thing I know,
mining now. Like,
Ethereum,
if there was no mining of Bitcoin, why would people care much about it if they couldn't earn it by solving the cryptographic puzzle and whatnot, and try to earn that future money and that gold 2.0, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I just feel like it's more, for me at least, when I used Ethereum before coming to Algorand, I haven't looked back at Ethereum. I don't use it at all. I
I
see
know
it as
me either.
archaic.
I avoid it.
And I think if we think back to Decipher, I forget which one of the bulls. It could have been Michael, or it could have been the Mooch. But he kind of said, there were so many big, web-based things before Google and before, some of the ones we see today, even like social media. There was MySpace. There was all these other things before it. But then something trumped it, and it didn't. There wasn't this like, coexistive environment where they both just grew. It was no, one took over and ran. I'm still on the belief case that that's what we're going to see. Like, and it could be a few chains, but honestly, I don't see, like, outside of just total volume locked, and obviously the amount of money it makes the elite, people who had a lot of Ethereum early on. Who does Ethereum benefit? You can't use that. That's why people like in Zone with what they're building, they're not building on Ethereum because they know nobody in their region of the earth is going to pay over $1 for gas fees. Nonetheless, some of the expensive gas fees you see, even Opulus got mad. I was supposed to have an interview with Lee last week. It's pushed to this coming week, but he had to deal with the whole, sending the tokens to all the holders, and he had to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars because the gas fees. That's why he said he's going back to Algorand. I think that's why he's bridged back to Yodlee. He's realizing, you know what? I was trying to do both, but Ethereum sucks.
Shit, yeah. I mean,
I agree that a lot of new projects are figuring out that Ethereum sucks, but there's also just there's still a strong base. It's much like how I personally don't think Bitcoin's the number one technology in the space, but it still has a stranglehold on the entire space. So, I mean, as much as I agree with everything you're saying, I still think protocols like this are an absolute game changer. And to get back to your other point about the four bulls at Decipher, I mean, we had one of the people from Arlington Capital there, and I just want to share something that Ninos from Arlington Capital wrote about C3 protocol, and that is they will plug into other, and this touches on that chain of chains discussion that they had at Decipher. And if anyone hasn't watched that video, go to Algorand's website, YouTube page, find the Decipher videos, watch the one on state proofs, watch the chain of chain ones, and definitely, of course, finish watching this one. And so Nino says they will plug into other ecosystems using novel interoperability technology unique to Algorand. Trustless bridges are coming, and C3's application layer could spawn a cross-chain ecosystem of decentralized trading. Today, Algorand lives in its own kingdom, isolated from other ecosystems, just as localized positions are fractured across different chains and protocols. C3 could bring the benefit of Algorand's L1 to the rest of crypto, propelling Algorand as the chain of chains. C3 is taking a hybrid approach to protocol design. The club will host trading on an off-chain L2, leveraging CFI type performance, but transactions will ultimately settle on the Algorand main chain at each block. C3 leverages the decentralization and security guarantees of Algorand's L1, with 4-second settlement times allowing for a quick migration between L2 to L1. C3 protocol captures our thesis that Algorand will be the chain that bridges DeFi and TradFi. C3 could become a single global account and profit and loss universe for DeFi, closing the gap between the CFI TradFi trading experience and self-sovereign, non-custodial DeFi. And Ninos always just has a great way with words, and every time I read something that he writes, I just get 10 times more bullish on the space. So I hope everyone bared with me with that, but I just wanted to share that with everyone else and hopefully make everyone just as bullish as I have been lately.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I wasn't saying that like earlier that, this interoperability is not that big of a deal. Like early on, I think it will be huge. And I think it will be big for just the entire crypto space to grow. But I do believe that as it grows, there will become a dominant blockchain. And I do believe that's still to be Algorand.
Yeah, me too. I think Algorand, just by technology alone, Solana crashed again, I think recently. Cardano stalled again, so they're kind of just eliminating themselves. And a play to basically, but a play to absorb Ethereum's market share. I think interoperability is the only way, because people like Jamie Dimon and them who really support Ethereum, they're not even going to try to look a different direction because Ethereum is where their bag is at. And I feel like if Algorand slowly, integrates with Ethereum, then they can open their blinders a little bit more to see a different use case and technology.
Right. I mean, you're not going to be able to see the adoption for the whole blockchain and the crypto space grow unless it's at a level that people can actually enter in at. Yeah. And the only way you get that, it may be that Ethereum, because of how popular it is and how much it's in the limelight, that they get onboarded to Ethereum, even though it may be using Algorand as a layer 2. They don't even know they're using Algorand. But as people dig and they do more research, that's when they find out, okay, Algorand's the one that I should be using, and then you just straight come on over. And that's what I'm saying. Like it could help onboard a lot of people into the space by lowering fees, lowering that gas. But I'd still be interested to see if you lower that gas, what is the point of Ethereum? Because right now that's what everyone is making that money.
Like, no, I agree with that. I agree with that last point. However, I mean, one of the main reasons a lot of projects still build on Ethereum is because that's where all the liquidity is. I mean, this is a very illiquid space over in the Algorand ecosystem currently, only with, a couple million on some apps, 100 million, couple 100 million total in TVL, depending on the week. So it's nothing compared to these billions of dollars that are on these other chains. So I mean, that is one of the biggest reasons why bridges, at least temporarily, or interoperability at this level, could be great. But if you also think long term, because as much as I agree that we'll probably reach a point where we have 1, 2, or 3 dominating blockchains, there will also be all of these private chains, because I personally think companies will create their own blockchains. They'll have their own private chains for their own private use cases that will also need some sort of interoperability technology so those private chains can interact with these main chains. So I do think long run, I mean, we're thinking short-sighted with the interoperability between Ethereum and Algorand, but in the long term, I mean, we're going to have interoperability between Algorand and a lot of other private chains that will exist in the future. So, I'm super bullish on the technology, and I think this current application that we're reading is only just the beginning of how it will be used. So I'm totally excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. Interoperability is the key word right now. So make sure y'all go look that up.
Go look that up. Let's move on to governance. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yes, sir.
All right.
If there's any questions you want to check out in the chat that we missed, or that maybe we missed while going through that.
I haven't seen too many yet. I have one starred up for later on, but I haven't seen too many yet. If you guys have any questions, just throw them into the chat. There wasn't too many in here earlier when I said that. But going into Algorand governance, let me just zoom in on this so you'll see it when I pull it up. And here we are.
Super governors. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, super governors. Yeah, we've got the XGov platform. So this is a super interesting thing. Let's see. I'm going to just do a quick read and then we can discuss. So creating a tier of expert governors. We propose the creation of a new tier of expert governors, XGovs. These governors via These governors via decentralized aggregation mechanisms, such as a DAO, will have the power to put forward measures for our quarterly governance votes. These measures will still be voted on by our current governance platform, which will not change. The new XGov mechanism will require expert governors to commit to governance for a longer period of time, of 1 year or more. The proposing power of XGovs will be determined by the stake that they commit to governance as well as their experience. And experience is described as the number of years of their XGov participation. And this leads me to believe that the longer you stay in governance, so maybe in 2 or 3 years, your status as a governor is much stronger than your status of a governor now. For example, a few years of experience of a governor, automatically measured by participation in a DAO, could double the proposing power of each staked algo. If approved, the exact XGov rules will be discussed with the community with the goal of rewarding longer-term commitment to governance and to decentralize the ecosystem. The experience timer will go into effect once the program takes effect. And that's pretty much it. It also goes into saying that because this is such a meaningful decision, the voting session has been extended to 28 days, so it'll run from February 1st to February 28th. But yeah, what do you guys think of that?
Off the top, I'm loving it, because it's going to give opportunity for the people like myself, who's very committed to the Algorand protocol, to put more lock value in there and to actually be so committed that I can't leave. I love it. I love it.
My initial reactions, I kind of highlighted a few things as I was reading through it. One of the big things was that in the second paragraph there was saying the proposing power of the ex-governors will be determined by the stake that they commit to governance as well as their experience, i.e. the number of years as their ex-gov participation. It is cool that they are giving the ability that, okay, if you don't have as much, but say you're early on, say this gets passed, and you're one of the first people and you're like, you know what, I see the long-term vision. I'm going to put all my algos in it for a year, 2 years, whatever the time period is. And say 5 years down the road, you may not have as much as a whale who enters the market in at that point and buys a lot of the, say then Algorand starts to really blow up and people want to control it and have power. Well, your voting power may be stronger than theirs because you've been in since the beginning. So I do like that. But right after that, it says, a few years of experience of governor automatically measured by participation in a DAO could double the proposing power of each algo staked. And then it says, if approved. Well, I guess the if approved just means I didn't see the period.
If we pass this, yeah.
I thought it just said if approved. I was wondering who's going to ultimately approve the XGovs, what they're voting up to actually get voted in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you mean like a private vote within that vote to get the vote out?
Yeah, exactly. Is it almost like a club that none of the other governors get to see, and then it just kind of comes out because
it would have to be. They said a DAO,
right? So yeah. I think that's interesting because then it begs the question, how decentralized is it then? At that point, couldn't it kind of become centralized with what gets voted in?
Well, I would say as long as Coinbase. Because I seen something that Coinbase, is definitely participating. So I feel like one of those whales, they always will have a pool. Basically, it's like that. Yeah. They got like with our politics, the electoral college vote. Their vote is going to mean more based on their volume and all the people who give it away. But this, I feel like, will give us an opportunity to compete.
I think it ultimately depends on the information that they come out with, because as I said, they're going to release more information so we can discuss it in detail. But it'll ultimately depend on how much each thing are weighted. So if participation in governance is weighted much heavier than the amount staked, because otherwise you could lend itself to being a governance structure for whales, really. I mean, Padre Algo over here, he's making a great point. He's saying XGov is simply multiplying the power of whales who can afford to lock up more algos to the speculation game. And although I do agree and understand that point, I also think there's a possibility, depending on the ratio and how the system is weighted, that if your participation in the ecosystem and in governance is weighted much more heavier than your stake, it could lend itself to, as you were saying, David, a situation where the little guy has a lot more say because their participation is worth more than their stake.
Yeah.
But
I would
that,
also
but
say
but
this.
but sorry to say, see, Will, you made a great point too, that some of these whales can participate forever, so they're also going to be experienced governors. So I don't know. I mean, that's I guess that's why we're having this discussion, because this one isn't easy for me.
No, it's a good one. So shout out to Algorand Foundation. I would have not have thought about that. And I want to say I'm happy they didn't say, hey, we're doing a governance token. Because that's what I first thought. I was like, XGov? Oh no. So that's good. But
Here's another thing I would say is, and this is just thinking about me and maybe, obviously I'm sure I already know there are investors. I know there's people I have talked to into not only buying Algorand and seeing the value in it long term, but also I've mentioned about, governance, and they are right now governors. So for them, and even for me to some extent, what would I'm probably, even if I would be one of these X govs, maybe years down the road, but if it's next quarter or something that they announce this, or a year from now, like, I don't even know what I would even formulate to bring up as a voting measure. So like, there's people who are going to possibly be these X govs that literally will never probably propose a vote. They're only going to see it as an investment thing where, instead of locking my algos up once every 3 months, I get X percentage. I can lock it up once a year and get more. I would assume more. Obviously we still got to wait for more details, but it's like, I really, like, to me, it's like, I think more people, the people who are going to be proposing these votes are probably going to be the whales and the people who have, the larger stakes anyways, just because your average investor who's in Algorand, I just don't feel like they're going to be, I don't know. I just think, like, what would I propose in this DAO to be voted on by the
you would propose slashing. Remember?
Right?
That's what you would propose. No, I'm playing. Yeah, that is a tough one. I don't know at the moment what I would propose, because I could propose more stuff for Opulus because I like making music as of right now. So like, I have more thoughts on that than this. I just don't want this situation to co-opt the whole community where we don't actually get to make any decision. That's my only thing I don't want. But I love this conversation.
Yeah, there's a really interesting balance to be had, because I really do like the idea of having like tiered commitment levels, because some people can't even commit for 3 months, or that scares them. So maybe they can commit for a month and get a little bit less rewards. And some of us are really committed and want to lock our algos up for a year or two, and I think they should be rewarded for doing so. But I also do have a concern that the vote itself, not the rewards, but the vote itself could be become a little bit more centralized with something like this. I mean, like I said, we have to wait for more information to come out, because if it's weighted much heavier on your participation, and they do have some well thought out ways to keep this from going into the hands of whales, then we'll have to wait and see. Otherwise, I guess it's just a wait and see, really.
Yeah. And even, they said that the foundation supports option A, which that means Coinbase then supports option A, because they've already said they're going to be going with whatever the foundation goes with. So, I mean, that's already a lot of votes going for A. So, I mean, I'm on the side that when this does come to vote, depending upon maybe what the further details are, I mean, I almost feel like this is probably going to go through.
Yeah, maybe, but there was a lot of split whales last time too, so you don't know what's going to happen at the end. I feel like at the end it was kind of surprising last time too, because I would have thought the whales would have went for the other one. Exactly, because it would have benefited them in the long. But there were plenty of whales that were split.
Yeah, but
they probably were a little nervous about
getting. They wanted to be able to sell and get out.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, if last minute some good opportunity comes, a lot of people are gonna make that move. What is governance APY right now? Like 9 to 15%?
9-10%.
Yeah, exactly. So depending on who it is, they'll leave for the yield if they find something better. So I think we will never know again until the last day of who's going to drop out or not.
I mean, the real thing is, unless there is official KYC of governors and one person gets one vote, I mean, there is really no efficient way I see for them to pull a truly democratic governance vote because, I mean, this is capitalism and
One vote, one wallet,
the people with the capital win in capitalism. So if you're making voting decisions based on finances, aka your algo, it's more than likely. I mean, even if we create tools to make it less so, it's still very much so likely going to be in the hands of whales. And really the only way I see around this is some sort of maybe, encrypted digital identity. So, you can only have one identity to one wallet or something, or a true KYC. Otherwise, I don't know how you'd get to a point where you actually have one vote per person and have a truly democratic system.
Yeah. And that's also what I was going to ask is like, how would they even, determine which, is it just going to be based on the wallet address that, who these XGovs are, or would there be any KYC? Like, would there be further, knowledge of who these, each person that's voting and being put in are?
Then we don't want KYC or we're losing our decentralization. So that's another issue that would come up. So I wouldn't want a KYC because I feel like if I KYC, then I'm owed taxes.
Well, I mean, you might want to be careful. You might want to be careful there anyway.
Totally get away from that unless you just ignore them until they come knocking.
Yeah, that's a risky.
I got some ways.
Somebody say I saw somebody put a tweet out and it said I love NFTs and it said not fucking paying taxes.
Yeah. I saw that meme too, but it's like, hey, you can only run for so long, especially with transparent systems where it's not terribly hard to figure out, like, all right, did they post their wallet address anywhere in the public and then tie it to an identity real quick? I mean, I think it's only a matter of time before there's a bunch of tax bots that are going through all these blockchains going like, hey, this wasn't claimed or anything like that,
My last thought on taxes, like, I think it would work if they just gave us all a base rate. Like everybody owes 1% if you bought crypto or some shit like that. That might work.
Yeah, it's super complicated right now. I mean, it'll be really nice in the future. I can already foresee all these different like tax companies where you just plug in a couple of your wallet addresses. It just goes through everything. It knows like when you entered, when you left, your cost basis for everything, and just gives you the data. And it gives you like a CSV file to upload to your taxes to the government. You're good to go.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Man, I don't need nobody laughing at my trading account that much. They don't need to see that data.
It would probably
give you write-offs of those losses.
It would probably be a bot at that point anyway.
This guy's set for the next 10 years of write-offs. We don't need to check on him for a while.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Before I keep going with the little agenda that I have written out, is there anything you two guys want to discuss while I have you here?
I mean, I think your agenda was great. Like, it's all
obviously, I want to talk Yodlee's information and then Opulus a little bit.
All right, so let's move on over to Yieldly a little bit. Did either of you get a chance to read what they wrote?
Yep.
All right, so
their new updated, their roadmap to migrating over to Teal 5, which actually I've been waiting for. I've been wondering when the initial contract pool is going to be swapped over. Which to me, it's good news. This is bullish. This is
great news.
For those, back to why I was excited for Yieldly in the beginning, and I'm glad I did. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. If I would have saw this big a dip, maybe I would have sold off some Yieldly and bought back in. But I'm glad I didn't panic sell. Like I said, I still remain bullish with, not only auto compounding and just each of those pools being moved to Teal 5. But it just gets them back on they can focus on doing what they were going to be, which is a place that anyone can come, stake your tokens, stake your LP, and earn yield.
Yeah, for those that are listening that haven't been keeping up with the information, Yieldly just announced that they're upgrading their pools from Teal 3 to Teal 5. They're also announcing that there will be no more algo prize game. That'll probably end in the next couple of weeks. And
Let's break down Teal 5 real quick, because a lot of people That's technical. Till 3 is like we manually got to compound and account for things. Till 5, y'all, is it does it by itself. Look at the Akita pool; it just gives it to you. Go ahead, JP.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Of course, there's more built into Teal 5, but for what
Mm-hmm.
the user experience will be for Yieldy, you basically nailed it on this head. So yeah, of course, we're not going to have any more Algo prize game, and that's partially because of the governance rewards and
I
the
feel like a
prize game.
little pump would want me to say shout out to Dina.
Well, oh,
DENA, if y'all don't know. It's the one who
yeah,
won like what, 7 of the no loss
7 out
prize
of yeah.
drawings?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Lucky, 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 right? Not so lucky because you're a whale, but I mean,
Right.
but yeah. So there's going to be no more Algo prize game, and that's going to be replaced with a Yieldly Algo LP pool, which is going to be pretty exciting. The Yieldly to Yieldly pool is migrating from Teal 3 to Teal 5, of course. So that's going to be an auto compound pool, which is super exciting. What else do we have? We've got more partner LP pools coming similar to the XET and the Akita pool that they have going right now. There's going to be a bunch more LP pools coming in the future. They also announced community staking pools, which will utilize governance, and users will select new ASAs for these staking pools, which is pretty exciting. And they announced, which gets back to our discussion on rug pulls earlier, a fair distribution pool or fair distribution pools, which are ways for new projects to fairly distribute their tokens to the community, which is great because as of right now, I mean, we saw with Weblin, or I believe it was Weblin, they airdrop tokens. And then those tokens were already on the DEX before they could launch, so everything just got really messed up. It wasn't a fair distribution at all. Plus, they also started selling or rebalancing at the same time. But regardless, if you have a much better way to distribute these tokens to make sure that there aren't whales in the beginning that can just absolutely dump on these people and so forth. I mean, I think that's a absolutely great thing because you do see some of these projects on Tiny Shots that have 80, 90, 95% holders, and like the top 10 or top 20 holders hold like 90% of the project. So that's certainly not a good thing because even if the project manager itself doesn't rug you, one of those whales could certainly rug you.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. The whole rug. Yeah, the whole rug conversation is just a tough one because it's just like
Yeah, I feel like this
always
also.
like. Yeah, go ahead. It's just no. I'm just like people. Just if y'all listening, please. It's your money that you're working for, which means it's your time and energy.
Yep.
Do more time in studying than you do in shilling out your money for these shit coins. Like that's what I'm hoping that y'all do for the whole ecosystem's sake.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah,
agree more. Go
yeah. What
for
I
it.
would
Go for
say
it.
with Yieldly moving to Teal 5, and just a lot of this is, and this is also where interoperability will help the whole ecosystem because right now there's not many. A lot of people are saying like this. I think here in a few they're only going to have like what 3 staking pools running, and then obviously you have the 2 LP pools, liquidity pools that you have that are on Yieldly because with the no loss lottery going away, you'll still have the NFT prize game, so those aren't leaving. And then other than that, you have 3 pools that are, right now going to be the ones going on for the longer period of time. But outside of that, it's like which tokens would you really want to be staking your Yieldly to earn, other than either more Yieldly, more
Yep.
Algo, and I see a lot of people in the chat are talking about Yieldly and Opulus getting back together.
Yeah.
Opulus would be
I
another
saw
one that
that. Yeah.
people would
Twitter.
stake for. But
Opulus would be
I
the
wouldn't
best for
be.
me, in my opinion.
Yeah, if I had to choose, I'm not going to be choosing these, new projects that don't have anything out, no project out and no real substance to owning the token. It's kind of like what a lot of people said with Opulus. There's no use case. Well,
Mm-hmm.
if Opulus doesn't have a use case, then why would you be, aping in or getting excited about some of these other ones? So I'm excited to see how they really help maybe get exposure to some of these with the fair distribution and how they help some of these projects that are starting out have a better, I guess, start. Kind of like we saw maybe with like Choice Coin or ARCC and stuff like that. Because you
Well,
didn't see as many rugs there.
yeah, they Choice Coin and ARCC were tough ones because the APY was great to look at it, but the price kept cutting in half.
Yeah.
Um,
And I also
Well,
think there's still tons of good tokens out there like Headline. I mean, we still have,
I
I
like
would
Headline.
assume, AlgoFi has their bank token that'll be coming out. I don't know when, but that's one that,
Here's the real question. What I have for people is like, what is your time horizon with these coins? Is it 6 months, 2 weeks, 5 years? So that's something to consider. I feel like when you're doing these staking pools, your
Yeah.
strategy, like what are you doing with those rewards? Because some people will be like, I roll everything in the algo, and I think that's a smart move because that's the whole underlying asset of the whole ecosystem. So I think
Yeah.
that's something to consider.
Yeah, anybody, I mean, this isn't financial advice, of course, but
Yeah,
anybody
not
in the
financial
Algorand
advice.
anybody in the Algorand ecosystem, Algorand should be your biggest bag. Like it's
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my
you
biggest
shouldn't
bag.
you shouldn't have unless you're in a situation where Algorand was your biggest bag, but you made a great bet on something else and then like on an ASA and then that somehow became your biggest bag. In that case, you probably should take some profits and roll that back into Algorand and make Algorand your biggest bag. But in all reality, these tokens, most of them are not that useful. I mean, and even the ones that are useful are complete speculation that they're going to be good in the future and that they're going to thrive in the future. So, I mean, unless you're short,
Gotta kill them.
oh, for sure, and and regulation could hurt plenty of these tokens. So, I mean, yeah, unless you're a trader, your biggest bag really should be Algorand. Or if
Yeah.
you're really bearish, your biggest bag should be cash. But
Right.
Oh shit, you gonna lose money if it's cash, guaranteed.
well, I mean, you can lose money if your token's dropping 90% like Opulus has.
Right.
I
Thankfully,
know.
that's kind of
Is that a
I'm
good?
still right. The majority of my average was at like 60, 65, 70 cents. So
You
the
almost
Yeah.
have
majority of
even.
mine is break even right now. So I've not lost anything, but I know that there's definitely people. I mean, obviously there's people who bought all the way up, but I think one of the guys in the
$4.
test, he sold off Opulus at $5 and just now starting to buy back in. That's a good trade. And that's
That's what
that's the
JT
thing with
did.
these
I mean,
ASAs.
Hey, what's up?
You
shout
can
out
buy
to y'all.
right? You can buy in and you can ride the hype like DeFi right now. Padre Algo said overbought. Very well could be, especially with the whole market sentiment right now.
Yeah.
I mean, people are bullish on it, but let's be honest, if the market keeps tanking, these things are not going to be they're not just going to keep skyrocketing up. Those are the things where when you have profit, you should take it and roll it into cash, roll it into a stable coin, whatever you want to do, and then wait for a good opportunity to jump in, or put it in something that you believe long term and stake it.
Yep. From
Yeah.
my understanding now, the whole market, because of what the Fed and everybody's doing, we're getting back to fundamentals. It's like the ones who are actually, like we say, utility that actually has a use case in this society will most likely, win in the long term. With all this, interest rate scares and all these hikes that's happening. I mean, that's something to be aware and pay attention to.
The only thing I would say that says that that's not true, that we're back to fundamentals, is that Dogecoin is still ranked 10 and Shiba Inu is ranked 15.
Well,
And
I'll say this. I like to talk about those two. Like
And
people
Algorand's
forget, Dogecoin been around since like 2017, and essentially it's a clone of Bitcoin that has a bigger, number supply. It has been around, and Shiba is a clone of it, but those two make sense in terms of community. I don't say they're fundamentally good, but I know more people that know about Dogecoin than Algorand. More people know about Shiba Inu than Algorand. So, and mind share, if you think about mind share, they have mind share with people.
I unfortunately think more people know about SafeMoon than Algorand, which is
Or SafeMoon, that's a
just
great
really
one.
unfortunate. Like my
Yeah,
brother, honestly, my brother, for example, he's, I've been trying to get him into investing for years and years. And then like, what was it? Halfway through the last year when we were in the middle of the bull market, he's texting me and he's like, yo, man, you heard anything about SafeMoon? And I was like, bro, please stop it. Like
here's one question I would have is what if, and we're seeing this already happen just with some of the suppression of news with Algorand. What if 5 years down the road, Algorand is still not even, it may be ranked up high, but it's still not even talked about and people don't really know it because it's just the base layer that everyone uses, but it's not the hype thing that gets people into.
I'll say this. I got to answer. You got me hyped. I always go back to Microsoft or MicroStrategy, even better, Michael Saylor.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that is, right? But they are a global competitor in IT software. So it depends what type of investors we're going to have. No one buys MicroStrategy that I know in like a regular people, but corporations use their software technology. Therefore, they print $50-60 million of cash every year. So I feel like Algorand is more of that type of thing where the public might not buy it, but institutionals will buy it.
Yeah.
That's where Bitcoin is at.
I'm going to completely agree. And you got to think, what is the value proposition of the Algorand token? And at its base layer, the Algorand token gives the holder of that token the ability to partake in consensus of this network. And it also gives the holder the ability to partake in the governance structure of the foundation. And it also is the main token, or the only token, that is used to process the fees on the network.
Yeah.
So if this network is going to become the global network for finances and it becomes a multi-trillion-dollar network, corporations and governments and other industry leaders that are using the network and need the network to remain secure for whatever projects they're developing on the network are going to want to hold Algorand to partake in consensus, to partake in governance, and to pay their transaction fees. So that is the base layer of the value proposition of the token. So I completely agree that eventually, and it's not just solely specific to Algorand, I think all blockchain technologies in the next 5 to 10 years will not even be talked about. It'll just be the technology these things are, because we don't talk about the internet every time we're using the internet. We just go use Twitter, or we go use this program we're on right here, but we're not
We just
talking.
turn the light on. We don't talk about electricity.
We don't talk about the technology beneath what makes it work. Exactly. But as you said, Seawill, there will be companies that are investing in that technology because they need it to continue for their business structure. And so that alone makes me super bullish, because I do believe that Algorand will become the central hub, or decentralized hub, we should say, for the global financial structure. So there's going to be a lot of reasons for governments and institutions and industry leaders to want to hold the token.
If you take one company, PayPal or Square, if they made one deal with Algorand with a stable coin, game over. And that's how much big of a market share those companies have and how much pool that they have. So,
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Like, there was a news about, I saw in your notes too, the 6 companies that are using Algorand at El Salvador with Wrap
6
Bitcoin.
banks. Yeah.
6 banks, yeah. That is huge.
Yeah.
That's who needs to be using other, because they can't use Shiba Inu. And
that's where I was
here
saying,
it is,
with the news suppression, obviously there, that article says it, but when Bitcoin was considered legal tender in El Salvador, no one was really talking about right after that the agreement that Algorand made with Koi banks to build out the blockchain infrastructure and to use Algorand. Because right now they're wrapping Bitcoin and doing the transactions though on Algorand, but you don't hear that in the mainstream. You just hear, El Salvador is using Bitcoin. Oh, the president keeps buying the dip. He's buying the dip.
Yep.
Like, that's all you hear, but you don't hear how it's actually, like, what they're using it for. And I think it definitely brings a lot of attention in that article to to Silvio's trip down in South America and all the countries he talked to and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Here, check this out. I got another point too that I'm pulling on bullishness. I'm so bullish right now. I'm hyped.
Yeah, go for it.
If you look at Bitcoin again, right? And again, I'm always a Michael Saylor bull. I love his information, so y'all go look him up. But he breaks it down. He's talking about, if you think about what is one asset that everybody in the world can buy, whether in Nigeria, whether in London, whether in America, or wherever else, they can buy Bitcoin. And then if you can put that on there, that Algorand is now being used with that is amazing. Not everybody can buy Apple stock and Nike stock because it's not a New York Stock Exchange, or they're not in this country. So buying Bitcoin and then powering it with Algorand, that is like that's the best thing I can think of. That's smart.
No, you make a great point that Bitcoin is the most accessible crypto in the world. So that is part of the reason people are still attracted to it. You can't get Algorand as easily as you can get Bitcoin. We have a little bit of a luxury being where we are in the world because we can access Algorand, but a lot of people use those ATMs to access their cryptocurrencies, and a lot of those ATMs only support Bitcoin, sometimes Litecoin. Actually, the one down the street from me just got Algorand in it. They have like 20 or 30 coins now, but I know that's not the normal. Most of them are just Bitcoin ATMs.
Yeah, the one at by my house only has the 3 main: Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum. I checked it out. But that's how I'm seeing this. Like, the Lightning Network plugged in to the Algorand network.
Yeah. And going back to your first comment, when we kind of talked about interoperability, and that's where I was kind of like, it may still be always that Ethereum and Bitcoin, or what, it may not even be Ethereum. It could be Solana or Cardano or something else. I don't know. But what if one of these other hype projects just is the what people think they're using and they love using just because of, whatever reason. They can make money off of it. They're flipping, they're trading, whatever it is, or they're just using their everyday business and and transacting their money. But at the base of it, Algorand is the one facilitating and make sure all those transactions are secure, they're fast, they're done, and everything is going through on it. But it never really gets to that hype level, because that's what everybody's question. I mean, most of the people I get that I've told people about Algorand is they're like, when is it going to do what Ethereum did? And part of me thinks that it could for a long time just kind of be silently building behind the scenes. And obviously the people who are in the know, I would say, that do their research and study Algorand will know what they're holding and know that it's worth something. But one day I do think the switch will flip, and owning Algorand will be like owning the top stock right now. You could Amazon.
Well, if you look at it, Ethereum has been out since 2013, or not 13 but 16, so they got more time, and they already split twice. So Algorand, coming in 2019, it's still a baby in the sense of how long it's been in the market. So that's why I'm so I think in 2030 is bullish.
You'll have people that want to stick with Ethereum 1 versus Ethereum 2 because they'll be like, no, we make more money on ETH 1. I don't want to go to ETH 2 and lose all that fees. True. I want to make the gas fees.
Yeah, no, but they're going to proof of stake, so that shit's about to be. I mean, if
maybe
I'll say if. Excuse me, let me not speak too fast.
Yeah. I mean, did they recently come out saying that it might not take it might take another 5 or 6 years to actually make the transition?
Yeah,
it's kind of wild.
Algorand.
Yeah, it's great for Algorand. I want to make a little bit of a sidetrack a little bit and just talk about AlgoFi real quick, because they did just recently announce a bunch of new things coming. And in Q1 of 2022, AlgoFi DEX is launching, and this launch date is February 21st, 2022. The AlgoFi DEX will be a game changer for the ecosystem, bringing innovations that do not exist on the Algorand blockchain. And what are those? The first key improvement of the AlgoFi DEX is composability. Users will be able to compose multiple swap trades into a single atomic group transaction, allowing for seamless arbitrage trading and smart order routing. Moreover, this composability will be utilized by the V2 release of the AlgoFi lending market. Second, the AlgoFi DEX will support flash loans. Flash loans are loans of assets from DEX pools that must be paid back within the same group transaction plus a fee. Arbitrage traders will use flash loans to keep the prices on AlgoFi pools, while LPers will earn additional fees from the usage of flash loans. With flash loans, the AlgoFi DEX will have the fairest pricing on Algorand. And they touch on something a little bit deeper, which is pretty sweet. Let me skip this part right here. And let me skip this part right here. The AlgoFi Nano Swap. This is super exciting. The launch of Stable, their native stablecoin, the first decentralized stablecoin on the Algorand blockchain, brought the total number of stables to 3 on the Algorand network, including USDC and USDT, and there's also going to be XUSD launching soon with XFACT and a lot of other stablecoins like Guard. So with the number of stablecoins on Algorand growing, it's clear the community needs a stable swap facility to improve stable pair swapping. Stable pairs are asset pairs where the exchange ratio should be roughly constant. For example, stable versus USDC should trade roughly 1-to-1. Trading stable pair... Sorry, one second.
Go ahead.
No, it's cool. Trading stable pairs on traditional DEXs result in unnecessary amounts of slippage which drives up transaction costs. To respond to this need, the team is building AlgoFi NanoSwap, a stable pool that will charge 1/6 the fees, or 0.05%, and reduce slippage. AlgoFi estimates this will reduce the transaction costs of trading stable pairs by 100x. NanoSwap will be the cheapest place to trade stablecoins, which is huge because, I know this doesn't excite a lot of people, but for those that don't know, there are lots of price differences among stablecoins, and sometimes you'll switch from USDC, you'll have, say, $1,000 USDC, and you'll want to switch to USDT because you're bringing it to another exchange, and the trading pair is only in USDT, and you're getting much less USDT. Maybe you're only getting 975 or something because the pegs aren't absolute. So this will help maintain those pegs and will also make it exponentially cheaper. And another update they're doing is an update to their V2 lending protocol, which is absolutely amazing in my opinion, because they're adding ledger support, Algorand governance support, which in my opinion it means that you'll be able to supply Algorand as collateral and still participate in governance, which is absolutely huge. So because right now you can't do anything else with your Algorand governance tokens, which is unfortunate. Enhanced security with inner transactions, reduced transaction group size, all these things that, in my opinion, are going to make AlgoFi probably one of the best dexes on Algorand. I mean, I have high hopes for Humble Swap as well, but it'll be really interesting to see how maybe Tiny Man catches up with a lot of this, even though they're the first mover. But this, in my opinion, is a much better platform, or will be a much better platform than Tiny Man is currently. And yeah, I'd really love to see how this, the long-term roadmap is, the launch date is mid-June for the V2 lending protocol. The DEX is coming next month. Q3, the public sale of the bank token launches, which is their governance token. Yeah, I think it's going to be a giant year for AlgoFi and Algorand more specifically. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
First
I was
off,
gonna say.
it's a quick thing, and then
Go ahead, David.
see what you can go into it. Isn't it funny that like they're gonna name it the AlgoFi Dex, and it's probably gonna come out faster than the Algo Dex. Is it gonna have the same name?
He's like, bah, bah, bah.
Sorry, I had to.
Shots fired. Shots
Right,
fired.
people are gonna be like giving him
That is
guy
funny.
a lot of
He's been
stuff.
building for 9 months.
I like Alex. He's never tried to build anything on blockchain before. I guess my only criticism is really take a note from AlgoFi here. They were just quietly building, and they were planning this for months and didn't let anybody know. And now they're like, hey, in 2 weeks we're gonna have a DEX. You know what I mean? And like, in reality, I know it's a little different because they already had a lot of funding and a lot of the support. So he kind of had to, at least in the beginning, get the word out about his idea to create the attention that he needed to gain the funding that he needed. But no, I mean, at a certain point, you just got to put your head down and get that product out there. You know what I mean?
Let me talk shit too real quick.
Go for it.
Remember, Algodex too also prided himself, Alex prided himself in not taking money. I got all those tweets on there, in the very beginning. That's what he was saying. But he took the money, so he did switch up, and it's still not out. So that is funny. Yeah. But what I was very excited about this AlgoFi update is exactly what you said. Got me excited is that the fees, like when I was swapping stable out, I lose 10% of the value every single time. It was like you do $1,000, you get $990. So if we can fix that, that would be huge. And that's what I saw on there. I'm like, let's go.
And what's going to be really amazing is this product working in conjunction with a product that Algomint is going to launch, which is basically like a stablecoin basket, it's going to be amazing. It's basically just going to be exactly like it sounds, a basket of all of the various stablecoins on Algorand, which would allow you to trade in and out of any stablecoin with ease and help maintain of all of the pegs of them. So in my opinion, I believe they're actually going to create their own wrapped token based on that basket. So the basket will be like 10 different or however many stable coins there are in the network. The basket will be full of those stable coins, and then they'll have one token representing that basket.
Yeah. I have a question for y'all. I don't know. I haven't tried it. So when we got USDC, there is no way that we can send this USDC, say, to like crypto.com, right? It's not the same as the ERC. You can't. They're not interoperable.
That depends on, I don't use crypto.com, but that depends on crypto.com because I know other exchanges do accept Algorand USDC, KuCoin, for example, and I believe MEXC, they both accept USDC Algorand version. You just have to go when you're depositing, make sure you select Algorand so you get the right deposit address. And same thing if you're withdrawing off of an exchange, you just want to make sure you're withdrawing to the correct addresses. They usually have like a Dropbox so you can select Algorand. I know on KuCoin, if you just put in the address, it'll know it's an Algorand address and it'll fill that spot automatically, which is pretty cool.
Good to know.
But yeah, I would definitely.
I know Coinbase is only ERC. Like they only want that, and I feel like these bigger centralized exchanges, that's what they do. They're pumping. I mean, honestly, they're pumping their own product because that they're in a lot of these projects early, and especially with how much they garner from fees of people buying these things, that's the reason why that's why you don't see hardly any ASAs on Coinbase. Is because they ain't gonna make the money there. They're making the money on all the Ethereum tokens that get created and get.
I mean, as much as I shouldn't be, because I mean, Coinbase kind of sucks. But to be fair to them, they are also like slow movers when it comes to this type of stuff. They're usually the last ones to list certain tokens, and really the last ones to make certain changes. And I think it's partially, really because they're already making enough money that they don't have enough incentive to be the first movers there. So I do think
bought $100 million home.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I think they will catch up as other exchanges are including support for Algorand assets. I know KuCoin does, MEXC does. What other ones? There's a couple other ones that at least have one. What is it? There's Planet Watch. Planet Watch is on a Bitfinex. Planet Watch is on Bitfinex, which is interesting. But yeah, so I think Coinbase will catch up, but I do think they're going to be one of the last ones to catch up for sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, shout out to AlgoFi. I like that platform. I feel secure using it. Haven't had any issues, any serious issues, and I've been using it since it launched.
I love KuCoin. I've been using that for about 4 or 5 years now. They launched in 2017, and I've been an avid user ever since, to be honest. We've got Damian Brown here asking, it's one of the only questions I see, how many algos do you guys expect for governance 3 to be locked? And that's a really interesting question, and I'll start with my answer. I personally believe if we get a lot more, if there's a lot more ability for us to use our Algorand governance tokens in various DeFi products, like I know the Guard token is coming out, which is a way that we can borrow against our governance tokens as collateral. As we just read with AlgoFi, they are going to be incorporating a way where you can partake in governance. So if there are more ways where you can use your algo governance in governance and elsewhere in the DeFi ecosystem, then I think it'll be either the same or even more algos than are currently in it. Because why would you not double dip if you could? If you can get your rewards from governance and you can still use those potential Algorand in other, whether you're borrowing against it or actually using a wrapped version of it or whatever, and you can use that in other areas of DeFi, why would you not do both? So I think it'll be probably the same, because it's, it was like 50% that signed up, which is a lot. So it'll probably be the same or maybe a little bit more, but I couldn't imagine it would be a lot less.
Yeah, I would say
Damian Brown's a bull for algo.
Yeah, you got 3.1 billion algos, staked, and then this total supply right now is, where's it at? 6.5 billion. So you almost have almost half right now of the supply that's out there locked in governance. I feel like it depends upon whatever this vote, with this XGov actually goes through and what the rewards look like. Because I know a lot of people, even though we haven't seen the total committed stake decrease, I know a lot of people were kind of frustrated that the APY that you got paid dropped, almost 7%, 6% when you include participation rewards. So I know that a lot of people were kind of bummed that it wasn't as high of an amount that you were going to earn. And so I'd be interested to see, by the end of this period, if that number drops, kind of like we saw with some people exiting or just maybe people not voting and stuff like that. But I would expect to see it, I feel like, close to where it's at now, if not more, just because by then, obviously, we're going to have more tokens, out as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's going to go up just based on the Algorand community and everybody. It's all going up, other than the price right now. But but I think it'll go up personally. I don't see no reason why it wouldn't. Again, I'm always looking for Cardano and Solana to not do its job, which always helps out the ones that are doing their job. So
yeah, no, I completely agree, honestly. How much time do you guys have left here?
I got some time.
I got some
question.
Time.
Awesome. Do you guys see any questions in the chat? If not, I mean, I do have a couple things we could discuss real quick.
What was it? The Octorand. I still haven't looked that up yet. Yeah, I guess it's an NFT series. So, I mean,
I think we were going to touch on Opulus a little bit. I don't know if y'all wanted to still touch on that.
Yeah, Opulus. Yeah, price dropped 90%. If you can pull the chart up, JT.
Yeah, I got you.
And I'm still bullish on Opulus. But again, I see, as of right now, the money is coming from making the investment on the S NFT. If you did not sell, that's where our money's at right now.
Right.
Exactly a 90% drop
Yeah,
from all-time highs.
yeah. So
I sold, let's see, where did I
on the way
sell?
up, smart move.
I sold like right around here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's about as
that's a
close to the
big
top
bag.
as most people get.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty amazing. Although I have been buying probably since around right here. So
you gave a
obviously,
little bit back.
yeah, obviously I didn't have the best entry here, but to be honest, we're getting back to my
Yeah,
original entry point around 70. Well, not my original. I bought first day just to have a little piece around 250, but I did the bulk of my buying around 67 to 70 cents.
Yep.
Which if we can get there again, I probably would buy a little bit more, even though I would have loved to see the video you were going to do with him because I really want to hear more about Opal use cases because,
yes,
as of right now, everything that Opal, and I think Opulus is a great project, but just like I think Lofty is a great project, that doesn't mean the token is a great token because, Lofty doesn't even
yep.
need a token. And there's a chance, unless they find great use cases for it, there's a chance Opulus also doesn't need a token because what is Opulus doing? Essentially, they are allowing artists to sell their songs, tokenize their songs and tokenize their music and sell it. If you can just buy those songs with USDC, I am worried that I just still am not sure what the clear use case for the token itself is. And, I really hope that he does come onto your show and gets to
Me
answer
too.
that question directly because I really want to hear it straight from him what the use case will be and not just from like one tweet where he's clapping back at somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, with Lofty is a great point of discussion. That product is fire. I'm pretty sure all three of us has invested in properties on Lofty AI. Um, we received a token of the property, but no, we don't have a token for the application. And I'm so happy again because my wallet will be filled up with all these random tokens. And if they don't pay us out in Algo or USD for was it non-US investors. So I see that when they are using the token, they're using Algo and USDC, which I think again is a very smart move on their part. And
Yeah.
y'all beware, there's a fake Lofty AI token. They do not have a token on TinyMan.
Yeah. No, yeah, I
Yeah.
still have the interview pegged for, I think, this coming Wednesday. So I'm hopeful to get a video out with Lee near the end of the week, Thursday, Friday of next week, hopefully. But, right now, obviously, with people who are obviously investing in Opulus, it is one of those things that, as far as use cases, that is the biggest reason why I think you've seen this big plummet. I mean, obviously, not just the only thing. I mean,
The
you have to think,
market, the whole
yeah, every
market.
not, well, and not even that, but you got to think it started at 5 cents. Obviously, if you were in the private seed round, and it ran all the way to like $3.40 day one, and then it came back down, which a lot of people sold there. You saw a mini rug almost happen there. Came back to 60, 70 cents. A lot of people started buying. Money started pouring back in, and then you saw it run all the way to $7.50 something cents with
On
nothing really to other than some staking pools that they had. They had the
Yep.
staking pool on Qcoin. They had the staking pool on what are some of the other ones that they had? NFT or
Cubics or some shit
yeah,
like that.
they
Yeah.
they had some places where people could lock their Opulus up and earn, but that only goes so far when you don't have your app released. And it's kind
Yeah.
of like, I'm seeing a lot of people kind of, with the same thing with Zones release coming up soon and then pushing their mainnet and their token generation event back a little bit because, it was supposed to happen, I think today actually was supposed to be their TGE, but it's pushed back to the beginning of February.
Oh my
I think
god,
some of
that's a
that could have
bad
been
sign.
yeah, I think some of that could have been the market conditions. I know they had to push back their last IDO, could have been that as well. But you're having all these projects. It kind of comes full circle to where we started talking. Releasing these tokens, raising all this money, creating all this hype before there is a product there. Now, I will say they do have the Big Zoo song that launched. They do have the Lil Pump song that launched, and Super Duper Kyle. Like I said, I don't know him as an artist, but his album is out, and Opulus is going to be listing all of his songs as SNFTs, so you'll be able to invest. And he has a huge following.
Yep.
But to your point, JT, it still comes back to the whole loop of when I bought my Lil Pump SNFT, I paid cash for it. I didn't
Yep.
pay
Yeah,
using
me
the
too.
Opulus token. So what is the use case for the Opulus token? Why not just have, at least now, like I get the hype around everything has to have a token. Like, I understand that. I know that that's the whole crypto world we live in. There's 16,000, 17,000 cryptos. Like, I get it. But as far as like a long-term use case, what will that token be used for? And I think that's that, along with the whole market slide, that's why you have investors pulling out and waiting, because they're like, it was a fun ride. We made some money, but I got to see more meat before I'm going to, long or really jump back into this. And that's why you've seen a lot of selling pressure, and I think some of it's rightfully deserved. I mean, but at the same time, it's only, Opulus has only been out since
3 months,
September last year.
Late September. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, heck, I'll say this, because I was telling people on my YouTube channel to buy it at 60 cents, 70 cents. And obviously all the way until November, it looked bullish that it could keep running past $7. So like, if you bought it and you sold and you made a bunch of money and you're buying back in now, I have no idea why you'd be pissed at Opulus.
Oh, no. Like, it's just again, I just think about IPO access, always think about stocks, is like a lesson learned. If there's no product, be wary. Not saying Opulus isn't a bad product, but it's like, for these places, like, it's damn near better drop the product, like with Lofty, drop your website first, get traction, and then drop your token, and you're less likely to have that problem. But they're all doing the reverse, which I think part of it is that I don't think Opulus needed the money, but I think like a lot of these cryptos need the money to even do their product, so they sell us a token to fund their product. And I think that's what's actually happening. And I know Opulus, they're not them, but most of them, I think I think that's what's happening. And I think
I wouldn't even say Opulus to an extent. I mean, you'd have to go look at all their tokenomics to see how much is going towards each thing. But I mean, it's kind of, I've seen a lot of people talk about, this whole DeFi explosion is just a bunch of VCs, earning a bunch of money off of the retail investors investing in these things, hoping for, the 100x, 1000x potential after the launch. And it's almost like IPOs with stocks. I mean, you see the whales and the people who can get in, they get in at a price Opulus, for example, you got in at 5 cents, and look what it did day one. It ran all the way to 340. People sold whatever they had. It came back down. They saw a potential, like, oh, this thing's not done running yet. They bought back in. It runs all the way to 750. They sell again.
Yep.
And
double up. That's what they did with Coinbase. Like, people bought Coinbase. Nas, rapper Nas, I don't know if y'all listen to him, and Gary Vee, but they bought Coinbase in 2015 and 16. So when it hit IPO in 2020, they've already made their money, and then we got left holding the bag. So it may not recover.
The IPO is often seen by the early investor as their ticket out. So it's when the public is super excited to get in, but it's when the private investors are excited to get out.
That's why they're so excited when they're ringing that bell on New York Stock Exchange.
Like,
what, Robert
sell.
He said what they do is, exactly what we described. It's all about, the private sales, and then they hype us, what JT said, so that they can dump. And then if they, if it's actually a good company, because I see Coinbase make so much money off of fees, now that it bottomed out, it might be a good play.
And here's
because it makes money.
If you were a true long, like if you really believe in a Algorand or Yieldly or Opulus or AlgoFi or any of these projects, Ethereum, Bitcoin, if you really believe, you would buy, and you would be able to just literally leave your investment alone and not touch it. But here's the reality is, I would almost say well over 50% of investors, but probably higher than that, of retail investors, they say they're long until this stuff happens.
Yeah.
This is when all the research, the DD you did, and the research on Reddit and Twitter, and arguing with people, really comes back. You see people who are pissed and upset at each of these projects. They're even calling Yieldly a rug. Like, it's come on. No, you're just mad.
Bad communicators.
You're just mad you didn't sell. That's all it is. You're mad that you are bag holding now, and now you have to go back and think, well, did I really do enough research on this project? Is this thing really going to turn into something down the road? And it's like, that's what so many of the Twitter, obviously I'm on Twitter. I love interacting with the community, but that's why I don't get into so many arguments, because I feel like I'm a true long. Like, if you want to know how long I am, I'm still holding my Opulus that I bought at 60 cents, 70 cents. Could I have sold? Yes. Should I have sold? Probably. But hindsight is always 2020. So, I could have sold at $6 and it could have ran to 20. And then everybody would have been laughing at, then there would have been, the other side of it. But it's like,
Yeah.
if you really think long term, like, can Opulus really change the music industry? Can it do what it set out to do? Can Algorand really disrupt the blockchain industry? Can it do what it's saying it set out to do? And if you really believe and have conviction on those things, I think you can hold through a 4-month, wave. Because I always say this: go look at Ethereum or Matic or some of these big cryptos that are out there. If you really look at their chart, all-time chart, you'll see so many times they started at, say, 10 cents or 50 cents, and they rode high. But then if you follow it all the way along, it'll go all the way back down to 10 cents like 3 times.
Yeah, Bitcoin did it, Ethereum.
Yeah, before that,
Apple, Google did it.
Pop. And then when the really big pop comes in, that's when everybody FOMOs in. But it's like, if you're one of the people just holding and you're not worried about that and you see the potential, then you can ride the ups and downs. And if you want to, you can swing trade it. But I still think the people who make it out best in the end are the people who just buy, hold, stake it, earn that passive income. Because it doesn't matter if this time you timed it right. It only takes one time to time it wrong and you screw yourself.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great reason why dollar cost averaging is absolutely key, because I mean, even Amazon, as I believe was mentioned a little while ago, they busted in 2000 when the dot-com bubble happened.
Yep.
And they dropped like 95% and took almost 14 years to get back to all-time highs. I mean, that would be devastating for whoever bought at the top of the 2000 bubble. Yep. However, if you dollar cost averaged all the way down and then all the way back up, by the time it got back to new all-time highs, you would have made so much money because you dollar cost averaged along the entire way there.
If you had just waited, you would have won.
You would have won, but you would have came out heavy if you just continually put like 10% of your paycheck in over the course of those 14 years. By the time it got back to your original buy price, you'd have a shit ton more money that way. So, I mean, this is one of those reasons why, I mean, dollar cost averaging in and out is super important. You don't want to ape in with all of your money right away, and you also don't want to ape out with all of your money, because you never know. You might have timed it wrong. I should have left more Opulus in as a bag when I exited, because I exited with like 80% of my money because I was really convinced that was the top, and then it went to like 750. It did take a violent downturn since, so it still worked out. But I mean, in reality, I probably should have left a little bit more of a moon bag to try to take out at another higher price. But
we should just start a whole YouTube channel about not dollar cost averaging in, but dollar cost averaging out.
That's what I do. I like to shave, as they say, shave off, as it kind of, depending on how staked I am. But it's about shaving up and down.
Yeah, and people should also be aware too that where did their staking rewards come from? I mean, there's a lot of tokens that seemingly got hit hard. I mean, I know we're talking about Opulus, and that there's like 2 or 3 different staking pools for Opulus currently. And where do all the rewards come from? Whether it's Yieldly or Opulus or any of those other staking pools, 9 times out of 10, they all come from inflation. So those tokens that you're getting are new tokens entering circulation. So yeah, you're earning a yield, but your token is also being diluted in the process because those new tokens are entering the market. So if demand doesn't keep up with the increase of the token circulation, and if there's more tokens entering circulation than there is demand for that token, that's going to crush the price of the token. I mean, I know you just had an episode where you basically discussed the same exact thing, C-Will, with the Algorand price, because there was a lot of dilution in 2021 that outpaced the demand for the token, and that's why you could see large discrepancies in the market cap and the price of the token, because they weren't connected, because at a certain point the market cap was growing far more significantly than the price, because demand couldn't keep up with that influx of those tokens. So that is something to 100% keep your eyes out for. I mean, I know a lot of people are drawn in by those crazy yields that you see on Yieldly. I know, like we said, Choice Coin had like 10,000% APY, but what is that really? That's also 10,000% inflation. I mean, maybe not exactly 10,000%, but it's heavy inflation.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, if we're not buying it up, then we're diluting our, for the yield, which is the give and take of the situation. And that's
Exactly.
why I don't like coins like Choice Coin, because it doesn't have the value that I see that Algorand has.
Well, that's
Yeah.
also part of the concern with Opulus, because if you look at Opulus, it's only about 5% of the coins are in circulation right now.
Yep.
There's not a clear use case for the token, and I find it troubling to even speak negatively about it because I have a fat bag of Opulus. So I obviously don't want to panic people into going to sell something that I hold a lot of because I don't want the price to go down. But I mean, if we're keeping it real, only 5% of the tokens are in circulation. There's not a clear use case yet for the token itself. Opulus as a concept and as a business, I love the concept and the
Yep.
business, but the token, there's not a clear use case for it. And the inflation is heavily outpacing the demand for it currently. And when you look at the token release schedule, there's still like 95% of the tokens that need to enter circulation over the next 5 or 6 years. Is demand going to keep up with that heavy inflationary release schedule? And that's something that, of course, we have to wait and see.
Yep.
But I'm hoping for the best with that one. But like I said, I'd also not like to hope. I really want to hope. I really want to see
Don't like the hope.
Yeah, exactly. I really want to see the video that you will have with him, David, because I have strong hopes he'll come on your channel, and
Yeah, we gotta
I'll make.
drill them.
Yeah, for sure, because I mean, the community really needs to know like how useful will this token be? Because there are a lot of people that are so bullish on the concept that don't separate the concept from the token, and that's something that really needs to be done in the space because a lot of projects out there don't need a token.
I'll say this,
they
just
don't.
because I've had people, that one Cookie Monster guy, he comes after me on Twitter all the time
Yeah,
whenever
yeah.
I tweet anything about Opulus.
No,
But
Crypto Monster,
yeah,
Cook or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
He go
I
hard.
wish
Yeah.
he'd show up in the chat. He'd like this. But here's my, because he was arguing with me last time about this, and I was like, you know what? Here's what I'll say. If Opulus, if this team, if Lee Parsons and who they've hired, the people they've added to the team, if their idea for Opulus token was just to pretty much get rid of it down the road because you know what, we don't need a token. We just wanted to raise a bunch of money and we're just going to go forward with cash or however they would evolve if they didn't use the Opulus token. It just seems like a lot more to do and really stupid. And you really think that if they built this and they didn't have a use case or a plan to use the token in the future, you really think the community would stick around and people would even use it? No, they would leave and this thing would fall on its head. And that's what I'm saying. If it's a rug pull that ends up happening, then you know
I mean, it
what?
kind of
They
already
got
has
removed.
fallen on its head,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. I'll say this one's not the terminal. I wouldn't say it's a rug pull. This was just, what we call bad. It was bad.
Yeah, it wouldn't
It's
have
like Smile Coin. This is just bad. They didn't
Right,
rug.
but
They're not doing great business in terms of this token.
Yeah, but I do
Yeah.
think here's the bullish side for those who are here. It's like when their app is released, which we've been told it's coming the end of this quarter, beginning of next. I think even some stuff possibly by the end of February, so maybe a little bit earlier than the end of this first quarter. But the app can release, and you can not only, obviously I'm earning money from the Lil Pump royalties. I want to see that check come April, the first royalties payment. I want to see not only am I earning USDC or cash, but also earning the Opulus token with it. And I want to be able to see how much I'm earning and be able to track it on their app and have, like you said, a use case for the Opulus token, whether if they limit it to the only way you can invest in these people's songs is you
That'd be
have to
smart.
buy using the Opulus token. That I think should be the use case. Like what other use case for the Opulus token is there? I think that needs to be it. And if that is it and they do it, the community they're building, I think, will be strong. And that is the type of community that could rocket them, even with the supply coming into the market, I think, into a top 50 crypto, which right now may not seem like much, but 5-10 years from now, as the whole crypto markets, grow, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It could be. I mean, we just really need to see how Opal ties into it because as of right now, their latest release is talking about staking on the platform, and like that's exciting and all, but like that basically makes the token just as useful as it currently is. You know what I mean? Like you can stake it. You can stake it on KuCoin right now. You could have staked it on Yieldly if you got in on time before that pool ended. So I mean, it's already been a token you could stake. So that's not not
Yeah.
that exciting for me. I mean,
Right.
in all
Well,
reality.
it's getting to the point where it's like we, as the consumers, we want more than just damn staking.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
it's just
what
that simple.
what is a yield on a token that doesn't have any like actual value to it? I mean, you
What's
know
the
what I
yield
mean?
on the token that drops
Shipping.
90%, right?
Well, that
So
I mean that too. But if like if the even if it any token, I mean, just like let's not even pick on Opulus here, but like any token that's giving you a yield, what does that yield even mean if the token fundamentally doesn't have a need to exist? So
Yeah.
like that is just
yeah,
really something everyone should ask of
I will
any
say,
project, not just
I
Opulus
will
for
say for
sure.
this, and I'm going to even mention, I think, with Lee on the interview, but just to get his reaction, I do like how they released Super Duper Kyle's album. Like it's out right now. You can go listen to it, and then you'll be able to invest because obviously, with the song, with Lil Pump song coming out, you had like a 10-second or a 15-second kind
clip,
of
snippet.
clip of it, but
Yeah,
you didn't really get to know fully what you were investing in. And obviously, the song
I'll
comes
say,
out, a lot of people are throwing trash at it and saying it's
I'll
awful.
say
And
we did know we was buying Little Pump. I
yeah,
to be
right, right.
transparent, somebody asked me about that shit, and I said, listen, I think that it's a great investment because it's Lil Pump. I didn't say anything about this song. I don't
Right.
care
It's
about
and
Lil
it's
Pump's
actually
music.
doing really well
That's what I'm
because of how
saying.
bad it is.
Yeah,
And the thing is
Lil
too,
Pump's a terrible artist, but he can sell as
the
a
thing is too,
businessman. You know,
I mean, did you see the TikTok by Soldier Boy?
yeah, he
no.
didn't wasn't into it. But Soldier Boy again, he sells. Soldier Boy is a
Yeah.
pioneer and is a game changer. So me, I'll buy it again. Like, give me the streams. No, I won't listen. Like,
But as I was saying, the ability to hear the music before investing, I think, is good. Like unless you just fully trust, like if Mumford and Sons was to drop an album, an SNFT, and I could invest in it, I don't even have to hear the music. I'd put my money there because I
yeah,
love their
I
music.
hear what you're saying there, David, but like that becomes really hard with new music that you're trying to like have heard for the first time when you release it, because how can you guarantee that these early investors that might invest in your music aren't, pre-recording it as they're listening to it, or sharing it before it's supposed to be released or anything like that. So I don't know. That one's like a double-edged sword for me as an artist that might not want their song out there until it's actually supposed to be released and able to be
yeah.
purchased. So I could
I
see that
think
go.
Yeah, I think selling. I mean, unfortunately, selling the artist works for me because it's like I don't need to listen. I know by track record alone, I'll look
Yeah.
at their analytics. So sell me like that. But yes, what JT said. We do not want the song to be just like out already. What's this one?
Yeah.
You actually
Well,
listen to
I'll
Lil Pump.
also
He
say
thinks he's
this.
as
One of the
shocked as we
questions,
are that he's famous.
one of the questions I'm going to
Joker,
ask
shout
you
out to
like,
Joker.
is like how fast is this process going to take? Like, because right now, obviously, we're seeing months at a time from initial investment all the way to song release to royalties being paid out. I hope, just like everybody will, and I'm sure this will play a huge factor in Opulus,
I got a question for you, David.
being
Too.
that future, that we want is it's got to be fast. It can't be, most investors aren't going to want to wait to see everything happen, at a slow pace. They want to be able to invest in it and, if possible, immediately be earning rewards. But obviously, even if it's quarterly, at least immediately be able to start tracking the rewards and things like that and whatnot.
So money play, David. I need you to ask because I forgot to keep bringing this one to you. What about sync licensing? I know we're still in this video right now, but sync licensing. Because if I can get my Little Pump song in the next Marvel movie, we don't care what the song sounds like.
Have you
Right.
have you been keeping up with what Dequency is doing?
What's that?
You haven't heard it. You should look into Dequency, because Dequency is basically trying to. I don't want to butcher what their mission statement is, but they're a music related company that's basically trying to help license, like basically exactly what you were saying, bring music licenses on chain essentially, and do a lot of what you were just talking about. I know some of their advisors. One of their advisors is actually one of the music teachers out of Berkeley Music here in Massachusetts, and they have a lot of support from the Algorand Foundation. You should definitely look into what they're doing, because
Yeah,
I, of course,
Dequency.
and everyone should too, because I'm going to butcher their goals right here, so I'm not even going to try to attempt it, but I think you'd be surprised at what they're trying to do.
Okay, because I think right there, that's what another play for Opulus is, that if they got the plug and the pool, essentially selling songs and now in this way, like again, I'm just doing Lil Pump for example. Let's get him on 2K22, Madden, and in a Marvel movie. We don't need this shit to be rotating on Spotify. All the money will come directly from that deal right there. So
All you
there's
need is one of their songs to go viral on TikTok.
that's it, or even that. So it's
It's
kind
like
of
his
like
last
how we
was,
position.
yeah, his Gucci Gang song or whatever. Like,
Yeah, one of that song is. I mean, actually, I liked it that song, but that song was everywhere. And if I could have
yeah.
bought that song, we would all been fucking rich.
Yeah,
Like,
I am interested to see what it's going to look like for, I think they said when they launched the SNFT, I think they said the average investor put $500 worth of money, which means
I
they would
should
have
have put
bought
more.
five SNFTs because each one was priced at $100. So I'd be interested to see not only, in the first quarter with this song launching and obviously with the Big Zoo song launching, because that's two totally different artists. I'd like to see what the difference is, how much money is made, and also what does the marketplace look like down the road? Like, say this song really does start to take off, or say a song you invest in starts to
Could
take
you
off.
sell it, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I believe Opulus is going to have their own SNFT marketplace, like on their app,
Yep.
where it'll be a secondary place where if you were an early investor on Lil Pump song, and say 6 months from now, it's
You
got
hate
to
the
do
song
like,
and you want to get rid of
yeah,
it.
someone's doing a dance in the Super Bowl and it goes like making fun of it or something and it goes viral or something, that might be a hot NFT that you could sell and make a lot of money on. So that's
Yep.
another thing that
Yep.
maybe even Lil Pump would go buy. I don't know. There's a lot of
No,
if that, but
to be
it'll be.
honest, I do think the NFTs will be worth be probably what are going to be worth more money than Opulus. The one thing I want to say real quick, and then we can move on to the very last topic and get out of here because we've already
Yep.
been going on for a while.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think an interesting use case for the Opal token could be some sort of profit and revenue sharing, because if they're selling all of these SNFTs and whatnot, maybe they could share in the profits of the Opulus company itself with the community and treat Opal tokens almost like as a dividend of sorts to share in the profit of their company. But that actually is literally a perfect segue into XFACT, which I want to discuss real quick before we get out of here. So I'm just going to click on this real quick, and this might be hard for some people to read. Let's see if I can zoom in on it real quick. Yeah, so Algorand Governors Club made a great write-up on XFACT, so I just want to read his thread of tweets real quick, and let's get it in there. Here we are. Awesome. So XFACT is building decentralized stablecoins on Algorand. Similar to DAI, stablecoins on XFACT will be backed by crypto assets. The first stablecoin XFACT plans to release is the algo-backed XUSD, but they will support more stablecoins and collateral types in the future. In addition to XUSD, XFACT will have a governance token named X. X token holders will participate in governance, i.e. staking and voting, of XFACT, and in exchange provided with a generous 80% cut of the protocol's earnings, which is amazing because this governance token, X, will not only be the governance and voting token of the XFACT platform, but it'll also give you the right to an 80% cut of the protocol's earnings. So let's go more on this. XUSD token will be the USD pegged stablecoin backed strictly by Algo. Due to the DAO structure of the protocol, no central authority controls XUSD or any of the future coins the protocol will create. It will be a community-created and governed asset. And then let's see if I can zoom out of here real quick. Sorry. Boom. Let's see. There we go. Sorry about that. And we're back. XFACT always considers one XUSD token to $1, and it will maintain that value through over-collateralization and arbitrage trading. New XUSD can be minted when users open a vault on the protocol, and to create a vault, users have to deposit collateral, i.e. algo, equal to 1,000 or more. As of now, the two initial use cases for XUSD will be a medium of exchange and staking. XUSD staked on the XFACT platform will be used to liquidate the riskiest vaults on the protocol. Liquidators are entitled to 10% of the protocol's earnings and collateral from liquidation events. So at this point, you may be thinking, okay, cool, but why are you so excited about another stablecoin? And to be honest, For us, the most exciting initial feature of XFACT will actually be its governance model and token, with possibly the coolest token name ever, X. And I completely agree because essentially, as I just read to you, holders of this X token will also be the liquidators, which are entitled to 10% of the protocol's earnings and collateral from liquidation events, and entitled to that 80% of the protocol's revenue in general. So that's essentially being the X token will not only be the governance token for this platform, but it'll also be the token that gives you 90% or rights to 90% of the protocol's revenue, or proportion of that, depending on how much you own, which is absolutely amazing and like a complete game changer. Because when I was first researching XFACT, I was trying to figure out how is this stablecoin and platform different than what AlgoFi is trying to do with their lending protocol. And it seems on the surface not terribly different, because it's also going to be a similar lending protocol with a stable coin that's backed through over collateralization. But this governance structure is unlike anything I've seen anywhere else. I mean, on AlgoFi, you're not raking in a bunch of money from all these liquidations. I know some people, I know there is a little bit of that, but you're not achieving 90% of the protocol's revenue by holding the governance token. And I just thought this concept was really interesting and a concept I wanted to bring to the community's attention. So if you guys want to just, say your thoughts on it real quick before we get out of here.
Well, I did speak with one of the XFACT guys that he's supposed to be on my channel. We'll see about that, but I think the idea is a good idea. I just have to see if they execute it. I would buy in, because I love passive income and royalties. That's my thing. So if they can pull it off, I'm into it.
Hey, they're building on Reach, just to let the community know that they are building on Reach, and I do believe it's one of the more anticipated projects by a lot of the like CEOs and developers I've spoken to on my show. It's not just like a hyped project that random Twitter accounts are discussing. Like a lot of important people in the space are definitely becoming pretty excited about XFACT for sure.
Yeah, so, I actually haven't done a lot of research on it yet. A lot of it's just because so many of these projects are coming up, and
it's too hard to keep up.
Yeah, I'm ignoring. That's honestly, it's it. I'm ignoring a lot of the hype and a lot of the ones that are out there. Just because I don't know. I'm not even putting them on my channel because I'm not giving them the time of day to potentially sway somebody into something that we don't know if it's legit. So I haven't actually. That's the first really that's probably the most information I've heard about XFACT, but it definitely sounds like a good idea, especially with the stable coins and being able to earn that kind of revenue, on holding that token and the use case there.
Next month on Valentine's Day, actually, they will be my date, and I will be doing a show with Austin from XFACT on this channel, so everyone be on the lookout for that. I forget what time we agreed on. I think it probably like 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I will be getting Austin, that information out there.
Austin, yeah.
He's brilliant.
Australia.
He's younger than I thought, I'm pretty sure, but he's a really, really smart kid for sure.
Like 25 maybe or something like that. Yeah, but he seemed like real chill. Again, a lot of projects, but it always like at this point, I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait. I'm not buying no initial coin offerings. I'm not buying any of that. I'm waiting.
And to get back to, to like expound on that point, that's another reason why I actually really like this XFACT project, and I really like what AlgoFi is doing, because what they're doing, unlike other projects, are creating a use case for their token first. AlgoFi, for example, created this lending market, is creating a decentralized exchange, and then is baking in utility for the token that they're not even going to launch first. They're going to launch it like 2 quarters after they launch this decentralized exchange. So, they're going to have a working product and build in a bunch of use cases before ever even launching the token. And I'm unsure how XFACT is planning to do their token launch, but from the way I understand, and testnet happens like next week or something like that for XFACT, but the way I understand it, the use case will be baked in before the token sale happens, and which is absolutely the way all projects should do it. I do understand that there is some initial funding that can come from a token, because it's a double-edged sword. Because if they can't sell a token first without a working product, that means people that have great ideas, like you or I, an average person that might have a great idea, can't start a project because we don't have money unless we go begging to these rich people for like a grant or for funding, and then we're beholden to these rich people. So for the smaller guy that might have a great idea, launching a token could be a great way to raise the capital you need to follow through with the project. But it is a lot riskier because you have to follow through with the project. You don't actually have the project done.
Yeah, that's what's
But
scary to me.
but it's tough because I don't want to see that totally go away, because there could be a brilliant person in the Algorand community that just doesn't have the connections to, go to Arrington Capital and get, funding or something like that, but has a great idea and maybe funds it through some sort of token launch. But of course, I feel like all of the warning signs should be out there that like this token is used for funding the project right now and utility will come in the future. So investors know what they're getting into.
That's one thing Loudify or whatever did not do, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't they didn't say that we're fundraising and we, like just more transparency is what I'm always pushing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I would say about that. But I'm watching. I would say I got XFACT on my watch list for sure.
All right. Well, you should keep it there. That should just about wrap it up. I don't know if you guys have seen any comments in the chat that we should discuss real quick.
Nice, but what if, which I feel like we kind of covered that. Said, what if to control the power of the ex-govs, their sole responsibility is to research and vote among themselves about what to present to the remainder of the governors. Ex-govs don't vote with community. And that's kind of what I was kind of mentioning earlier. It's like if there is this like select group of special governors, and even if there's other governors who go into it and are these ex-govs, but they don't really have an idea of what to propose to be voted on, would it just end up being a centralized, I guess just a certain amount of people who know what they want to introduce, and then everybody else is just like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Let's just go with that type approach.
Yeah, it's really hard to conceptualize how it's going to plan out because, like I said, I mean, we read through all of the information that's already out there. So there's really not that much information on how this is actually going to roll out and how it will work. So I'm kind of just, before I have any strong opinions one way or the other, I'm just waiting for Algorand and the foundation to release a more detailed idea on how this concept would work. Because on the surface, I like the idea of tiered governors, and I like the idea of people in the community having the ability to propose votes. I just really want to see how the mechanisms are and how they plan out.
Yeah, I'd also like to see if it's just gonna, if there would be like bigger votes and then smaller weighted votes, like if there's just small things, small changes to the protocol and whatnot moving forward, or if it's always just going to be a big vote. Or if there's just going to be smaller votes, throughout the governance period, or if it's just going to always be this one open window for one vote and that's it.
Well, we're watching I think some of those first Algorand all hands meetings. That was some of the questions, like how do we propose ideas? And I guess this is what they came up with, is like this XFACT is the way that a regular person could propose. That's what I'm thinking. I do remember talking about it, and no one knew how could we actually propose things. So,
yeah, I think this governance vote, if it does go through in the way that the foundation recommends, it could lead to multiple votes in the future because we have multiple parties being able to propose votes.
But it's like what JT said. The guy with the non big venture back guys, if they have a great idea, this is where you put it, though, I think.
Yep. And I mean, as much as I don't want to see any voting centralized, you also have to also understand that, a lot of these whales also want to see their token price appreciate. So, they're not going to, they might not propose things that we particularly like, but I don't think they're going to propose anything to sabotage anything. And we also have to understand that we're just voting, aside from how governance works, the governance structure is just voting on how the foundation spends its money. It's not voting on like what upgrades are going to happen to the blockchain and things like that. It's voting on where the foundation's going to spend its money. I can't wait for those votes because I would love to have real discussion on how we're going to spend money on more marketing, on which DeFi protocols or concepts we're going to give more funding to build out, because there's concepts like the metaverse, there's concepts like DeFi. What's the next concept? Maybe we should find that next concept and fund it and build it out. So those are the types of questions that I really want to see. I think the early stages we're having votes on how governance is going to be, and once we get that all out of the way, we're going to have much more important votes on where that money is going to be going, and I really can't wait for it.
Facts.
Yep.
Well, closing out.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I really appreciate everyone that stayed to the end of this video. If you're not following Crypto for Change and C-Will, definitely go do so on Twitter and on YouTube. There should be links down in the description below, and I appreciate everyone staying to the end.
Yeah. Thank y'all too.
Shout out to everybody who stayed. Thanks for watching.
All right, we're wrapping it up. Take care, everyone.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.